Lucky you.
Best 36 holes in golf.
You tuned in to Alternate Shots Podcast,
Arnie's Army.
where we talk about golf,
Barkeys, Sandy's,
poker,
Bond, James Bond.
horse racing,
I'm all in.
great movies.
Alfred Hitchcock.
We have no script.
And down the stretch they come.
We're glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Whoop. Let's start again. Alternate Shots fan. We have a wonderful podcast episode today with Let's Do This with Mike Breed. Billy Regan and I are so thrilled about that, and I know I messed that up, Mike. Let's hear it. Let's hear it from you. How do you say
Let's
it?
do this. Come on. Get in there, Bob. It's got to come from your gut.
Billy said the other day when we were redoing our bumper that somebody changed our grip, and now we can't do the podcast anymore. Have you ever changed anybody's grip?
I will say that I have changed people's grip who have quit the game. They just haven't stayed in the game. You change a grip. A lot of people don't like that maneuver, no doubt.
It's an easy game to quit. We play cards. We play Texas Hold'em, and you get bad beats all the time, and you quit for about, what, a day, Billy?
Yeah, but I rarely change my grip on my cards. I have changed my grip on life and reality many times, but
Michael, we're gonna just let Ted Virtue steam here a little bit. He's our background picture. People are gonna wonder why we have him up there. You know, you're kind of in the neighborhood of Wingfoot, but you were everywhere around there at Sunningdale. You were at some great golf courses like Augusta.
Sure.
Share with us what those clubs. Deepdale.
Well, and let's not forget that Daryl Kessner was there at Wingfoot as an assistant. Look, you know, Wingfoot is it's just a special place. And as you said, having worked at Augusta National, everybody has their own sort of personality. But what I would say about Wingfoot and what I love about going over there is the golf IQ at Wingfoot is probably the highest golf IQ of any golf club that I've ever been associated with in any way, shape, or form. I think the conversations, and you all know it very, very well, the conversations are, they're conversations that you can't really have at most clubs in the country, because they just don't have the wisdom and the insight, the respect for the game, the understanding of the game, and that passion that just the second you walk in there, it's unique. And I am very fortunate that I live fairly close to the club. I'm also very fortunate that I have a lot of friends that are members over there. And so, you know, I just love the place. I really do. I think it is a storied facility that has two great golf courses that we all know that the West gets all the accolades and the East is sort of the forgotten one. But the fun part is when you talk to anybody that plays there on a regular basis, they prefer playing the East over the West. And I had the chance, believe it or not, on Saturday past to play the West and get into one of your members' pockets, Dave Staudinger. I dug in there a little bit deeper than I think he even wanted me to. So
You have to be a pickpocket to get into Stouty's pocket.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I'm not afraid to go in there and kind of hang out for a little while, just see if there's any change that he's got loitering around in there.
Well, speaking of getting into pockets, this guy here, this is Ted Virtue. I asked him yesterday if he had a B-roll on his swing. And I think just before the Giant game, he went out in his backyard, took an old 5-iron Callaway or whatever he's got. Why don't you give us a little expert analysis? I'll roll Ted's swing and see what we have to see here, all right?
Yeah, you bet. Well, I mean, look, you know what? He's got it right exactly where he's used to in the heavy rough. And he's given himself somehow a very good lie. So that is Teddy Virtue to a T. But I tell you what's interesting is, and I do actually like this golf swing. It's very consistent. It's short, but it is very repeatable. And as you let this roll, what you're going to see is that this club, I don't even know if it's going to get to the 3/4 spot at the top.
Did he learn this game of golf from Doug Sanders?
Well, the shoes would indicate that that's probably true. No question about that.
Well, Ted's been accused of wearing Doug Sanders colors from time to time. All right, let's roll this and see what you got. It's only a short 7 seconds. Here we go.
Yeah.
Focus, keep your heart out.
Yeah. So there you go. So there's a couple of things about that. One, if you go to the positive, great balance position, short swing, but very compact and fluid. On the negative side, it looks like he's bending over a tremendous amount. I could go down different places, what it kind of reminds me of, but this is a family show, so I'm going to keep it as a family show. It's a very, he's very bent over. And if you look at that golf swing, there's not a lot of hip rotation. I don't know whether that's intentional or not. But the thing that I would say about Teddy, and this is, look, you know him as well. Teddy does things his way. And he's, by the way, he's right most often. And so he's figured out how to make a golf swing that most people couldn't make work. He's figured out how to make it work. And as you can tell, and as I said before, it's one that's very repeatable. And believe it or not, I like it. It's powerful. He hits it plenty far enough. So you know what? All things being equal, I'm being gentle on him. It's not bad at all.
He does have a high finish though.
Yeah. Well, when you take it that short, you better have a high finish. If you keep it low like the other one, it wouldn't even look like a golf swing. I don't even know what it would look like. More tennis. But
He usually has a high finish in the senior club championships at
although one time he did have a very good finish in the senior club championship, didn't he? Won that a couple of years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's always right there.
Yeah.
Him and Jimmy Graham, these guys might go on forever.
So Michael, the world of teaching is really incredible today. It has to have been aided by video, but video is one thing. And I think you've even done a book on how to use video. This is an example of it, right? How you
Yeah.
teach video. That can't be the only reason people are better.
Well, I think there's a lot of different things that have changed. I think video, the video camera has been very important in the growth of the teacher, as well as the understanding of the player. But I think there's a lot of things that have taken place. I think the launch monitors and the simulators nowadays, and I've lived in simulators for quite a while now, well over 15 years. And I can tell you that the understanding of what's going on with the club face, what's going on with the path, what's going on with ball speeds, I think that stuff has gotten so much better. Our understanding of club head speeds. And, you know, it was when we were younger, if you hit it far, we kind of thought that the golf gods loved you a little bit more than everybody else. That was really the way that people looked at it. But nowadays, we really understand what you need to do to generate more club head speed and the training that has to go on with it and can go on with it. And so, you know, I think that's one of the things that's gotten better. I think a lot of people are practicing a whole lot more. I think that instruction has improved. So I think if you put it all together, you've got a better coach, you've got a more informed player, you've got an individual that is training a lot more, and also starting to train a lot more as they're younger, right? We're introducing the game of golf at a much younger age than certainly when I was growing up. And so, you know, you combine that with Tiger Woods and the cool factor that he has put into the game of golf, and then all these other players in other sports picking the game up and talking about the game, all of a sudden, you know, it's grown. And it's as a result of all these things that are sort of on the periphery. What you get is you get people that are much more enthusiastic about the game and understanding the game a little bit more. The equipment's gotten better, no question about it, but it's gotten better all across the board. And what I mean by that is not just the club that you hit or the golf ball that you hit, but also the clothes that you wear, the shoes that you wear, the preparation of a golf course. I mean, you know, what Steve Rabideau does over there at Wingfoot is just incredible. But at the same time, the equipment that he uses is completely different equipment. You know, 50, 60 years ago, it was 5-gang mowers that people were towing around golf courses. And now, you know, it's changed dramatically. And so I think when you look at the game and the presentation of the game, it's just better on all fronts. And so I think that what you see is improvement in a sport that's now a really fun, cool sport that might have been a little stodgy a while ago, and kind of country club. That was the other thing that, and everybody had their reasons why they didn't like it. And now all of a sudden, all those reasons have disappeared. And it's really a fun sport to play that allows you to get out there and be with your friends. And I would also add, finally, particularly in the last, 3 or so years, COVID has been our biggest supporter. It really has. It's been huge in the growth of the game of recent, and also the acceptance of the game. It's been a positive. Strangely, it's been a positive. So, I kind of think everything's changed.
You step into a room at the Waldorf Astoria, the big ballroom, and there's two people on opposite ends of the room. On one end of the room, you got Arnold Palmer in his prime. On the other side of the room, you got James Bond, Sean Connery. But I'm going to add a person who's sitting with Sean Connery to make this a little more interesting. Ursula Andress. Who are you going to go talk to?
I mean, look, I'm going to talk to Arnold, and I've had that opportunity, so I know what and where that conversation can go. But I go to Arnie. He, first of all, he was a gentleman, and he was a guy that he did the cool stuff before Tiger made it cool through the world. Arnold Palmer really made it cool in the States and cool in the UK. But Tiger took it to another level. But I'm going to go talk to Arnold Palmer. I think James Bond, I mean, look, I love Sean Connery, but James Bond is a character. He's not a person. Connery's a person and would be a fascinating guy to talk to, but he's an actor. Arnold Palmer was an entertainer. Now, you could argue that Connery's an entertainer as well, but Arnold Palmer was a guy that if you got to talk to him at all, Arnold Palmer looked you in the eye and wanted to know about you. I'll tell you a great story about Arnold Palmer. So I used to go down to Orlando all the time for the Golf Fix when I was working with Golf Channel. And I had a chance on several occasions to spend time with Mr. Palmer and talk to him about a bunch of things. And it was not uncommon for Arnold Palmer to get in his golf cart after he hit balls on the range and drive out to the 17th hole at Bay Hill and watch players play golf. It was not uncommon for me to have a conversation with individuals around the dinner time, because there was a sort of a grill area that you go into that you could eat dinner at. And I would have conversations with individuals from all over the country, all over the world, but all over the country, who would say, I saw Arnold Palmer today out on the golf course. He was watching us play golf. I couldn't believe it. I saw a guy sitting in a cart and I thought, who's that? And then when I got up to the green, it's Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer loved golf. He loved golf. And as I said earlier about Winged Foot and the golf IQ, I really enjoy talking with people that loved golf or love golf. And that was Arnie. He loved it so much that he would go out and he would watch people that wanted to watch him play. He would watch them play, not because he thought it was a cool thing to do for Bay Hill or for the Bay Hill experience, but because he loved golf that much. He just wanted to be around it. And so he would go out and he would watch. And it was not uncommon for him to get out of the cart and maybe give a little putting tip or a chipping tip or something like that. But he just loved golf. Yeah, I'm going in that ballroom. I'm going right over to Arnie.
I was lucky enough to play with Arnold Palmer at the Desert Inn years ago in a scramble with an A, B, and C player with Palmer. So we got to use his drive, and he had hit this thing maybe 80 yards from the green. And all three of us stepped up one after the other and chili dipped it fat. And Palmer said to us, "It's a good thing you guys aren't carpenters."
I think it's a combination of things. I think at the root of every successful individual, in my opinion, is passion. And I think Arnie was passionate about the game of golf. And I think he was also passionate about wanting others to experience the game of golf. And I think that what he also had was he had this natural curiosity about him of others. And I think when you kind of put it all together in that Arnold Palmer soup, you get what you got. And what I always loved about, and what I always did appreciate and admire about Arnold Palmer was the story that we've all heard a million times about how he signed his autograph. And that's the way he was. He was diligent in signing that way, not just because it represented him and the way he was, but it represented the game of golf. And it also represented a moment of time where you had that interaction with Arnie, and he didn't want that to be anything less than what it invariably was perfect. And so I think it's a combination. I think he had all of it. I really do.
Is there anybody coming up the ranks that might be like Palmer?
Well, that's such a hard question. And the reason why is that Arnie was at a time where he was really trying to, believe it or not, grow the Open Championship. Arnold Palmer is credited with helping to influence American players to go over and play in the British Open. And I think that speaks to the opportunity that Arnie had. Now, he took advantage of it in taking the responsibility of, okay, I'm going to help grow this game. And that's exactly what he did. I also think that he had a great opportunity within the game of golf. The PGA of America was really sort of formed, not that long before Arnold Palmer. I mean, you're talking about maybe 30 or 40 years before Palmer starts making his way in the game, both at the amateur level and then at the professional level. So I think he had great opportunity. That doesn't exist for these players now. I mean, the game of golf is a global game. It's in the Olympics. It's a global game. And so I don't think that they have necessarily the opportunity. The other reason is social media. Social media to me it can be a great thing. It can also be a terrible thing. And Arnie didn't have that. These players now, there's almost a script that they have to kind of follow. And I think if you think about, of course, Arnie was the guy that really kind of started the agency space with McCormick. And I do think that you now see every single player, even now with what the NCAA has done with these players in college, these kids in college are making millions of dollars. They've got agents. And so all of it, you kind of put it all together. It's a completely different age. It's a different time. And I don't think the players have I don't think that they have that ability. Not that they're not capable of it. I think Ricky Fowler could have been that guy if it was 1955. I think Ricky Fowler could have done that. I certainly think that there are a lot of players that are out there that have that personable kind of attachment. Jordan Spieth was certainly that guy. But I think that nowadays everything is governed a little bit more. And then you have the cancel culture that goes along with that. You can't really say anything wrong. Yeah. So all of a sudden, there's a whole lot of reasons why, the reins are a little bit tighter on these players than Arnie had.
Michael, there's been a lot of attention around this young man, and certainly he performed pretty well. There's some skepticism in his pick by Luke Donald in the European Ryder Cup. There's no more skepticism. Let's take a swing forward here, and then let's have you talk about him and his game at this point that you've seen.
So that question lies in his golf swing, with one very specific motion. It's this motion that is, in many ways, the secret to a silky.
All right, so we saw Ludwig swing here. What is he, maybe a 5 months on the PGA Tour, right out of college, Texas Tech?
Look, what do you think about this kid? I think this kid has a runway that's phenomenal. And I talked about this earlier. These players are starting the game of golf at a much younger age than you or I started playing the game, and the specialization that we're in. You see this in travel sports all the time. It's the same in golf, the AJGA. We obviously know what's going on with drive, chip, and putt, and I mean, there's so much more for the junior player to participate in. I will also tell you that the college programs are a whole lot better. If you go to Texas Tech or Georgia Tech or Wake Forest, North Carolina, these colleges have phenomenal facilities that they can play at, and with great coaching. This is a guy that it doesn't surprise me to see him do what he does, because these college programs that they're playing nowadays are so good. The training is so good. The mental fortitude that these players have, the tournaments that they're playing in. I mean, you see this with Will Zalatoris and Cameron Young, and these players come out of college and they are ready, more than ready. What we see with this guy is this is not an uncommon story. And the story now is you grow up wherever you grow up. It doesn't matter whether you grow up in the US or outside, Sweden, it doesn't matter. And you go to college in the US, and you may go to school for 4 or 5 years, and you get introduced to, arguably a better product than you get, believe it or not, on the PGA Tour, because the practice facilities you walk to, and the practice facilities at the college level are, in my opinion, better than the facilities that, as good as Winged Foot is, it's not as good a practice facility as what Georgia Tech has.
America. I heard somebody played Trinity Forest yesterday, and there's 2 sides of the driving range. On the other side is the SMU driving range, and it's unbelievable. It's got everything.
Well, it's not just one individual coach. And David Young is a guy I've known for a long, long time. Played a lot of golf against David. These coaches that they have access to are coaches that are coaching football teams. I mean, Justin Thomas and Nick Saban are buddies. You don't think Saban has passed along some of his wisdom to JT? Well, Justin's dad, Mike Thomas, is a PGA professional. And as good a coach as he is, he's not a coach like Nick Saban is a coach. Yeah, he may know a golf swing a whole lot better, but I would argue that Saban's experience is pretty elite. And then you're talking about coaches that are coaching the mind, and the access that these players have to those elite coaches like the University of Virginia and Bob Rotella. That's just part of going to school there. That's why I tell, all these kids that have these great talents, go to college. It's a better experience than you're going to have when you go out on the PGA Tour. And it doesn't cost you anything. In fact, they're paying you to do that. So, I kind of think that the game now it's a totally different game, that you could argue that college golf is sort of a AAA of the game of golf. And like baseball, you'll go down to the minor leagues. The minor leagues, AAA, AA, whatever, the minor leagues are found in college nowadays. And so when these kids get out of college, they are ready for all occasions, on all situations. And so I mean, I'm going to love watching Ludvig play, but I think that Ludvig is just a number. He's just another one of the Cameron Youngs and individuals that are going to school at a university in the U.S. and coming out and taking the tour by storm. Yeah, I think it's actually even before that, a quote that is attributed to Henry Ford that said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." And what I believe is, if you take that quote and you kind of break it down, it's whether you think or whether you think, which is both things that you do with your mind, right? So, you have to be able to trust your golf swing. One of the reasons why amateur golfers struggle is they don't trust their swing, and they don't trust their swing when they need to trust it most. And that is when you got to make a putt, or you got to make a swing with an iron, you got to make a birdie. And so what I think ends up happening is that, to your point, you got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe in the swing that you have. You got to believe in your ability to read a green. You got to believe. And if you don't believe, no matter how good your swing looks, it's never going to look that good when it's under pressure. Well, they're conversations that you can't really have at most clubs in the country, because they just don't have the wisdom and the insight, the respect for the game, the understanding of the game, and that passion that just the second you walk in there, it's unique. I just love the place. I really do. I think it is a storied facility that has two great golf courses that we all know that the West gets all the accolades and the East is sort of the forgotten one. But the fun part is, when you talk to anybody that plays there on a regular basis, they prefer playing the East over the West.
Why are you laughing?
Well, at least we have the laugh to add at the end.
Right. We've gone from 12 handicaps at this to 19 handicaps in just a week.
That's what happened. Somebody changed my grip, and the next thing you know, I can't do the podcast anymore. I felt like I was in the first row of the first pew at church right during the sermon.
And your brother was poking you.
My brother was making me laugh.
Thanks for joining us
Casper,
today.
Billy
We
Harmon,
really appreciate your
Double
feedback.
Indemnity,
And please
Arky,
subscribe to the
Two
show.
Outer,
Hit them
Odd
hard
Job.
and hit them off.
That's 36 holes.